She's with us in studio again.
It's like our third time.
Yeah, it's great to have her. She's going to be at the Orlando Improv. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. Get your tickets because they will sell out. In studio, Margaret Cho. How you doing, Margaret?
Hi.
It's very good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been a minute. I think
I think you have even more Tom and Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we thought if we just keep filling it here, maybe someone will find us out.
If you put your face enough places, it's almost like they won't forget you. Hopefully,
yeah.
It's
Well, now you have the upholstery, which actually is different, I think.
Yeah,
it's really weird. We were gifted these chairs by a listener, and they're like traditional church chairs that kind of interlink, and they have a Bible pocket in the back.
Oh, that's perfect.
Neither of us are really believers, but we left the Bible pocket there. But my mom is, and just out of respect, we're like, in case she brings her Bible, she has a place to store it.
Absolutely.
You have been so busy. I look on your IMDb. That's what they call it, right? I don't go on there very often because I find that Wikipedia and IMDb, most of the stuff is wrong. You know, it's just incorrect information.
Yeah.
But yours, and especially coming off of The Masked Singer.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you haven't been talking about that at all, but man, what a fun thing to be a part of.
It's fun.
And so many people wanted to shit on that show.
It was good, though.
And it's fantastic. it sucks you in. I even, at first, I'm like, what is this?
Me too. I was like, gimmicky, but then I actually watched it and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool.
Then 2 hours later, and then it's like on the DVR, you know what I mean? Because it's just so fun and silly. And Asian game shows, you and I used to be obsessed.
Oh, yeah, they're my favorite.
And I believe this started as a traditional Asian show, did it not?
Yeah, it's a South Korean show. But if you look at the South Korean one, you can see it on YouTube. It's really, it's not as fancy. They just use like, they trace a hand on a paper plate, and they're like, "Now welcome to Turkey. The turkey is going to sing for you." Like it's very like low budget, but it's so popular.
And your costume was dope, man.
Yeah,
like
you had
like one of the best ones.
I love my costume. It was like really hard to hear and see outside of the giant head, but I had experience doing that because I used to be a Hello Kitty.
Yes,
FAO
I knew
Schwartz.
this, and you were Raggedy Ann.
I was also Raggedy Ann.
Yes, I was watching you on, oh man, my wife's going to kill me if I don't remember this. Hold on. Busy Phillips. Mm-hmm. I was watching you on that show. Mm-hmm. She's super talented.
I love Busy,
yeah. How cool is that?
Great.
My wife loves all her books and everything. And so I watched the show, and you were on there. And if you guys haven't seen the clip, you got to YouTube it because you are hilarious on there. And in fact, I wrote down a couple of those questions. I'm just going to steal from the best. You know, I'm like, that show's really good. It'll make our show good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were on there, and you were talking about you were hit on more
as a Raggedy Ann. I mean, full on like. But also asking if I was available for sale, like that.
Oh my God!
There's something about the Raggedy Ann that just makes people go nuts. I don't know what it is. The yarn wig or the bloomers or
like
guys are so fucking weird.
So weird.
Hold on, I think I may have figured out. Like, there's some psychological thing where, like, if a prepubescent boy sees something that he sexualizes, like the first thing or like the first couple things,
it's like the girl on the comfy couch show. Remember that show?
Yes.
That girl,
couch?
and she has like the Ramona Quimby hair.
Yeah.
And guys like that you Google that and people have they write like sex fan fiction about her and all this weird shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
but I think like if you're a young boy and you see Raggedy Ann like in whatever incarnation, and then you're like, whoa, that's a good looking doll. Or
Raggedy Ann?
You would say that?
No, I'm just saying
a good looking doll.
And then it just gets stuck. And
I can see like a Barbie, but Raggedy Ann, she's got like the overall dress and the bloomers.
I know,
like,
but
it's not like
overalls
anything,
are big in Florida.
Yeah. True.
We are swamp people, so that's what we wear.
But it must be something like weird like that. It was like you saw it in a young age and it just stuck with you, and now it becomes like this weird fetish as an old.
But you did Hello Kitty, so you had worn, I guess, is it
the giant head, which is really the Hello Kitty head. It actually the bottom of the head hits like your waist.
Oh yeah,
so it's almost like your whole body is swallowed up by the head, and then the rest of it's just like the legs, which are also very, very large too. So you can't see it all, and you have to be led around. So it's I guess it would be kind of like a Barney costume too.
Yeah,
it's just a huge.
We have both of those at Universal.
Costume.
We actually have our own Hello Kitty land or Hello Kitty store, one of the biggest ones, and they have the woman that wears. I'm assuming it's a woman. It could be a guy that wears the Hello Kitty outfit, so I know exactly what you're talking about. It probably hasn't changed
It's very sweaty in there, and it's really it can give you a lot of anxiety.
Oh, I bet.
That's what I wanted to ask you about the Masked Singer for everybody who saw it. Like at the end, the reveal.
Oh, you're a good singer, by the way.
Oh,
but
thank you.
but we knew that
Thank
because
you.
past times you'd been in here, we knew that music was a passion of yours. I think Selena Luna is it?
Selena, yeah.
Selena, yeah,
Uh-huh.
she was in here, and you guys all. It's kind of like you're multifaceted. You're not just comedians, or you can do like burlesque and this and that, and
We love it all.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to ask you is like at the reveal, like you look surprisingly not sweaty and not like disheveled, being in a costume.
Agreed, because they pulled the
Yeah.
head off, and I don't know how they edited it, but I was like, oh well, she looks good.
Did they pull the head off and then run over and do makeup? Like, was there some sort of trickery there?
Yeah, there's a little bit because
Okay.
we kind of like when they were gonna unmask us, we found out like about half an hour before. So they went and they did your hair and makeup, and then they came back and just put it on. So it was kind of fresh.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
you weren't
okay.
really super sweaty in there.
All right, because you would have been obviously if you were just been like standing there for
Yeah.
I don't know how long, and they're like, "Here we go," but your hair would have been misplaced and sweat. Right?
It's very it's weird. But I never saw any of the other masked singers out of their mask, and except for Tommy Chong, I was near him, and I'm like, I smell weed. I smell weed. You know when you're like, who smoked in here? Like,
Yeah.
And so that I kind of knew a little bit, but then none of them. I didn't know any of them at all. I had no idea.
And I've read interviews with you talking about the Masked Singer. I know you've talked about so much, but there are a couple things that I found fascinating. Is the fact that they really were secretive and super secure about like all the contestants to the point where even like they put masks on your like publicist and manager so that nobody would recognize them
smart.
and
Yeah.
know it was you.
Whoa.
Yeah, because you know people's team too. If like you go around like showbiz stuff, you kind of know who reps who,
Yeah, Sure. yeah.
and they're always with them. So it's kind of like they were under like this disguise as well, and so we all separated. Like rehearsals were different places, fittings were different places. None of us were on the stage at the same time. Usually, if they had us on the stage, one of the masked would be a stand-in. So sometimes they didn't have the person that was in the mask usually in there. So,
Yeah, like body doubles. And
Yeah.
Do they have multiple dog or poodle costumes?
No, they just had one,
Okay.
but they would switch it out.
Gotcha. And then, I read in an interview that people like friends and family were like see you on the show, and obviously you're like probably a non-disclosure and like just out of fun, like the principle of it. You didn't, I'm sure you could have told like a close friend, they wouldn't have told anybody, but out of the principle of making it fun, you're like you didn't tell anybody, right?
No, I didn't tell anybody, and because the non-disclosure agreement is pretty scary. It's pretty
really?
like airtight. Like you really cannot say a word to anyone about it.
Yeah.
And they're very, very, very strict about it. So and that's also the fun of the competition. You don't want to give it away
yeah.
because people are so people got really invested.
When did you get your first text that people knew it was you or suspected it was you from like when the first time people saw the poodle?
Oh, right away.
Oh, really?
Like right away, and I just didn't say anything. I just didn't say. I was like, I don't know.
Now,
Yeah,
did you get to choose like poodle?
I had a choice between alien and poodle, and I chose poodle because I love dogs.
There you have your dog with you. So that would make sense.
And I know that you had a good friend on the panel.
Yeah.
And you were nervous about.
Oh, that dude lost his mind when
Yeah,
he
Ken
realized.
Ken Jeong,
Ken
yeah.
Jeong, I play his sister on his TV show, and he used to open for me 25 years ago as a comedian, and so I've known him forever.
That's insane.
And I was like, oh, he's gonna know. He's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
know. But it was, I think, when they like misdirect right away, then they're just like, oh, and plus, hey, he was probably thinking there's no way that they would cast me because they're just like, it's too close.
Yeah.
And speaking of casting you, how did that whole thing come about? Like, were you a fan of the show before?
No, I didn't know about
Okay.
it. I just they sent me some clips of the South Korean show, and then they asked me to do it. I mean, it was just such a fun thing, and I never thought that it would be such a huge hit. It became such a big deal.
Yeah.
So, but it was really it was just because I thought it was interesting, and I love singing, so it was fun.
Yeah.
Is it crazy for you to know? Because I not to go back to it, but I was watching the Busy Phillips interview with you, and you made a kind of, it was like just a side remark, but you were talking about how Asians on television or movies now. You're like, all of them are on TV now.
Yeah.
Is it weird for you knowing that at one point you were really, really fighting so hard to be, you know, that person that would represent, you know, not just Asian, you know, women or, you know, just Asians in general, to be and have your own comedy program as a kind of a pioneer? Is it weird now that it seems like there's been a lot more victories?
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think
do
it's
too.
Amazing.
Fresh Off the Boat's
it's
a rad
wonderful.
show.
It's
I
a
mean-
great show. Actually, it's set here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is which
I
makes me
love
laugh
it.
because they throw like little bits, and it's not like mean, but they throw just the same amount of snark that we throw on Orlando because it
Yeah.
is an odd place. I love it,
Uh-huh.
but they throw just the right amount of snark in the actual show, and for it to be set in Orlando and be that creative, I think it's awesome. You
It's
know?
great. Yeah, I'm so proud of all of these wonderful projects and great comedians and actors and you know, rappers and they're all doing such great stuff. I mean, whether it's Asian American or people from Asia, you know,
Yeah.
K-pop is so huge.
It's
like
massive.
BTS and Blackpink are like the biggest artists out there.
Yeah,
and
BTS
it's
is
amazing.
It's insane when you watch those guys. They're so big that my wife and I got a Peloton bike, so we're riding the Peloton bike, and they have actual just hundreds of K-pop rides. That's how big it is.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, we know that, you know, normal middle America white lady wants to ride to this because it's now the norm. You know, which is crazy cool.
awesome,
Yeah,
yeah.
it is really cool.
Margaret, I want to talk to you about Japanese toilets because because me
Well,
and
Seth Petrozelli, the MMA fighter, he lives in Orlando. He's a good friend of the show, and he goes over to travel. He's he's very, very.
he's been to Japan to fight a bunch of times,
and he's all about just karate. I'm not even saying it right. Karate. If I say it wrong, he gets all mad. You know, but he's so into it, and he came home with this. He'd spent like what, $5,000?
Yes, yeah.
On this Japanese toilet, and he
Yeah.
brings it to every house he buys. It's
The
his
best.
prized possession.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's so good.
And me and Daniel were like,
We
because-
want one, but I'm not that level yet. I
Yeah.
got to start saving my coin.
But the toilet hasn't changed in so many years. Like maybe like it went from a pull string to like put the knob on the.
well, I think it started as a hole.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Very simple.
But we have the technology,
Yes.
and the Japanese realize like,
Yeah.
hey, let's put
and
the
they're assholes.
technology in the toilet.
They have clean assholes.
I know.
Really clean, like with water.
Yes.
like
I don't.
really like.
I've never had that. I've never used it.
so good.
And it makes me feel unclean and gross.
So what is it about Americans that we haven't progressed to the technology in the toilet?
It's such a good thing. I mean, I have a bidet, which is but it's separate, so you have to actually move bowls.
Right.
You can't just do it all in one bowl.
Yeah.
So I have to like move like about a foot over, which is whatever. I mean, but the Japanese toilet, my parents have them. They're so good. There's just because there's also like a blow dryer on there.
Wow.
You can have hot and cold air.
That is
Blow up there?
awesome.
I
Like,
need
why-
that.
like
That's insane.
here's the
to
thing:
me.
it exists. Why haven't we,
Maybe
adopted
it's too
it?
expensive.
Yeah, but I've been to a lot of rich people's house, and they don't have the technology in their toilet. They have the
No.
standard toilet.
Same toilet I
They
have.
can afford it. Like they can afford the $5,000 toilet.
They just
like,
have the fancier towels.
Yeah. Like I'm not at the level of $5,000 toilet yet, but I will be, and that's my goal.
Yeah, and they
But-
don't they have music and.
They have music. They're all different. Like so, usually like when you walk into the bathroom, the toilet bowl will open to accept
That's
you.
insane.
And
He's
then-
like a vampire and inviting a vampire into your dwelling.
Yeah, it just comes
yeah.
open to, and then it will like when you sit on it, it's temperature controlled. So I don't know how much cooler it gets, but it's warm.
Yeah.
And then it's then
I don't
they
know
have
anybody who
spray.
want like a colder toilet.
Maybe if it's hot out.
Yeah.
Maybe you want something a little.
You just
cooler.
worked out.
Yeah.
You know?
something cool. It's swollen.
Yeah.
You need
yeah.
to put an ice pack on it.
not a
but
bad
yeah,
idea.
it's got the front hose and the back hose. And then so
Oh.
it squirts up, and then it's got the blow dryer, and then it has either a water feature, like not actual water, but a recording of water to cover up sound, or music
Oh, that's beautiful.
to cover up sound.
That
But the two sprayers is important too, especially
Yeah.
for the ladies.
yeah.
You know, because you got different areas down there.
Like, and I know that they don't have this in this incarnation, but there is something that they're working on where it's like it'll actually test like your poo poo or pee pee to see
What
if
are you, baby?
I know. I was about to say stool. Then I was like, what is it? I can say shit.
You're
It doesn't matter.
embarrassing me in front of Margaret Cho.
Pee pee and poo poo, Margaret.
I don't know why I said that, but they'll actually and then it'll give you your test results. Like
Every time you flush, I don't want that.
like it'll be like you.
I'm a hypochondriac. I don't need. Every time I flush, I'm like rolling a slot machine. Death. I don't need that.
3 cancers.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I hit them all. Then a Grim Reaper air balloon just poofs out of the toilet. That whatever that scythe or whatever he has is hacking at me.
Do you have the Japanese toilet?
My family do. I don't have the actual one. I just have the primitive bidet.
Yeah.
I got to get the real deal. I'll just, actually, if you go to Japan, they're pretty cheap if you get it and then bring it over. And we have the same voltage like currency, so it's kind of like you could feasibly get. I mean, it's similar enough where you could get one there.
Butler, look up Japanese toilet. We didn't buy one. We didn't buy one for the studio for real. Like just to have
I'm
it
down
here.
with that. We
as
bought
a talking
I
piece.
thought we were big when we bought a toilet, an automatic paper towel dispenser.
Ooh,
I was like, we are fucking
that's cool.
corporate.
Yeah,
now.
amazing.
Margaret, I want to talk to you about Mercy Mistress and the show and how it came about and how you started. With that project.
Well, the Mercy Mistress is really cool. It's a web series that I'm producing, and it was all based on the memoirs of a dominatrix in New York, who's a very famous Asian American dominatrix, and she wrote about her clients, and then they crowdfunded this series, which is on YouTube now. That you can look up. It's Mercy Mistress on YouTube, and it's really I think it's really cool. It's really sexy, and it's like, kind of 50 Shades of Grey kind of thing, but it's actually very, like, from the perspective of people who really do the stuff. They really are in the BDSM community, and I think it's really cool.
And did you find out a lot about BDSM and the community? Because we've had guests in before, and there's a what's the name of the place?
The Woodshed.
The Woodshed.
Yeah.
It's like in here in Orlando, and it's basically a safe haven for anybody into this stuff, and they have the rules, and you have to be a member to join and stuff. And when you start diving deeper into it, you're like, whoa, like this is way different than what we think of on the surface of like you think it's kinky and it's all about the sex.
Don't they have like tying classes there?
Yeah. It's a lot about respect, and it's a lot about like consensual. Everything you do is consensual,
Sure.
and then there's you're not pushing the boundaries, or making anybody uncomfortable, and but for the layman and people not into it, it's all about sex. And
well, there's a lot of inaccuracies in 50 Shades, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean there's so much to do with consent, and also the way that people play. It is like it's not different from like cosplay or any kind of like con, or LARPing or like Renaissance fair. There's something that has there's a kind of a similarity, but it requires a lot of skill too, especially with rope. Those kinds of techniques, you really need to know what you're doing because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So people are playing with stuff that is potentially really harmful. So you need to have many layers of consent, many layers of instruction to be able to do it. And it's a long tradition of people who have been practicing playing for many, many years, and they teach their apprentices. And so there's a lot of fun stuff that happens, but it's a sexual fetish, but it's also it's an identity, and it's a way of life for a lot of people.
Did you know about it before, or did you go into? Okay, so
I used to work at this place called Stormy Leather in San Francisco, and it was an S&M lesbian leather collective, and they were making like leather dildos, and they opened a retail shop, so they were making all their leather stuff. And so I went in and I worked there, and so I learned a lot about like latex and leather and fetishism and play parties, which was really, that was really eye-opening. People go to places like there's parties and people are like doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and you're like, wow, this is so amazing and scary and fun and cool and weird and gross.
Yes. A lot of feelings.
A lot of feelings.
A lot of emotions. Sure.
A lot of humanity comes up. You're like, oh my God, this is so trippy and weird. And yet, it's also really gratifying too. So I love the world of it. I love people who get really involved in geeking out on stuff. And there's so many people who are like that their whole life involved in BDSM. I think if you get into it, you're into it for life.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Did after the show came out, did you get a lot of people reaching out to you, inviting you to like maybe more elaborate or like I imagine that like with everything, there's people that do it at the woodshed over here, and then there's super rich people that maybe I'm wrong about this, but in my mind it's like Eyes Wide Shut parties or like
well,
there
even
are
somebody like Penn Jillette. I mean, he's
you're right,
made no bones about the fact that he has a dedicated room that he and his wife or other people might go and have a party, and he spends, I'm sure, a great deal of money. He lives at a castle.
You're right,
for Christ's sake.
So I imagine there's a higher echelon of BDSM parties and get-togethers,
Yeah.
and I wondered if you got the invite to one of these from.
Yeah, I mean, I have been to several like very wealthy practitioners where they have like full-on like leather padded cells, like leather walls in their house, so that you just like get thrown against the wall or whatever. And it's really incredible the amount of money you can spend on such a fetish, such a room, such a place. So it appeals to that side. You know, people love that sort of fantasy creation, but also. But then I also notice people that are really wealthy that love it. They just want you to pee on them.
Oh, really?
It always comes back to that.
Always comes back to
Just
pee.
pee on me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it always that?
Yeah.
But okay. I'm like, fine. But it's always that.
Really? Is that? Well, I wonder if that's the top. We were talking to Seth on
Yeah.
the last BDM show about that,
Yeah.
and I was like,
the same
what
guy with the Japanese toilet.
Yeah.
And he's all about the pee-pee.
Yeah. But so I wonder if that is secretly like a super popular fetish that maybe people keep it under wraps or whatever, because it's like.
And coming in at number 1,
Yeah.
piss on me.
Because if it's always pee-pee, then that's gotta be a more popular fetish than we even think.
It's the pepperoni
Yeah. It is.
of
Definitely.
of fetishes.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah.
It's very popular. Never poo on me.
Yeah.
Never a poo on me.
McAfee,
He's the only one. But he would cut a hole in his hammock and then shit on other people.
No, they would
Shit on him?
Yeah, shit on him.
Oh, okay. I thought he was shitting.
Yeah, it's always you want it on you. It's less of you like poo pee pee on other people. Like the person's into it wants it on them. I
don't
believe,
know.
right?
R. Kelly liked peeing on girls.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I think
he's
that's
a different animal.
That is a weirdo power thing. I think that's different.
That guy's
than,
just fucked up.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm just saying it happens the other way.
Yeah, right. But the BDSM, I wonder if that's like just in the same vein of like, I
see
want
what
the
you did
pain and the pee-pee.
I don't know. I mean, it's like, wait, I think that it's like the psychological connotations of it. The problem is that I don't feel any sort of way when somebody pees on me. Like I'm not in any way kind of bothered by it. Like I'm like, it's kind of warm.
Yeah.
All right.
You're
warm.
indifferent.
Yeah.
It's fine. It doesn't really faze me. And I think people want either for it to be as symbolic as a very humiliating thing or a very empowering thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but since I don't have a take on it, it's somehow it's neutralized. I think.
I think I am too, because also you're in a position where you're like typically like in a shower or something. It's not like like if I were dressed like this and someone started pissing on me, that's different.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh wow, this is really changing my day. But if I'm in the shower and I'm already there, you pee on me, I just get in the shower again. I'm like, now I'm back to normal. You know, it's like
usually you want to do it in the shower. I think it's too messy to do like in bed, which is I know don't do that. Don't get on the
not
mat.
bad. You wouldn't want to do it at Olive Garden.
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
you'd want to make sure. And I know she's got to get out of here.
I know.
But hey, thanks so much for coming in and
Oh,
hanging with
thank
us.
you.
It's always a pleasure having you in here. And I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but just quickly, Miracle Workers.
Oh yeah.
Are you only gonna? That's done. I mean, that's not.
I love
That was great.
I love Steve Buscemi so much. He's such a great guy. What a dreamboat. And I love working with him.
And
I
what a
think
cool
he's
thing!
amazing.
You had the role of God's mom.
God's mom. Yeah.
Does it get any better than that?
It's
I
so
think,
cool.
yeah. It's like, hey, I'm God's mom, which
Yeah.
is probably God, right?
Yeah.
Like bigger than God.
Yeah, and Steve Buscemi seems like he's just been in so much,
Yeah.
and been working for so long. He seems like the type of guy that's just like a hardworking actor.
Well, both of
and
you,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you pair very well because
thank you.
you've done sort of the same thing. Every time you come in here, you look younger, which is
Oh, that's nice.
something I need to try to do. My God,
You look great. You look
oh,
great.
I'm getting older and smaller and fatter. I'm eventually
Yeah.
gonna just expand. Black hole, poof, gone.
You know, being like, I have a theory that if you're on camera a lot, like it just like we did this documentary a year ago, and we're never on camera really, except for like Twitch or
Margaret,
something.
it was
But we saw
terrible.
ourselves on
We
like
look
a big
so
screen.
alcoholic fat. Oh, red
No.
nose. We look like
No.
WC Fields.
But-
it was
but-
terrible.
But when you see
My
yourself
little
on
chickadee.
on a movie screen, you're like, oh, like like way worse than I thought.
Yeah,
and then so I
we had to
think
get our shit together
if
after
you,
that.
You see yourself on the screen a lot, it probably just keeps like it motivates you to always look
Yeah,
good.
because
and
you
you've
always
done
look
it.
young.
Thank
Like you're
you.
always
That's
like
nice.
stylish, and but I mean that means something to you. Like fashion is.
It's just the urine.
That's the key.
You gotta go see her.
that's
You
it.
heard
Stop
it from her.
peeping in
yeah.
the pot.
Yeah, you heard it from her. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows Saturday. Go see her. It will sell out. So theimprovorlando.com or, and I put the number down finally, 407-480-5233. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
And guys, we'll see you at 2 for the Friday Free Show.